Hello, YouTube. This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, back with you once again for another weekly installment of the NFL Stableford League ranking show. But we're not talking about rankings this week. We're in the divisional round of the playoffs. So this show is entitled the Divisional Round Roundup Show. And as it is, we have two teams on the screen right now that faced off to begin the divisional round, and we're going to start with the NFC. So that's why we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of Brandon Carroll on the screen against the New York Giants of Don Tagarello, otherwise known as Tag Rocket. Now, this matchup was highly anticipated. It was all over Discord, and there was lots of great banter going back and forth between these two as they had faced off earlier in the season, with the Giants taking that one. And that was also played in the same place at MetLife, otherwise known as Starlight Lake Golf Club. And we'll see if the result was any different this time around as we kick off the divisional round roundup show. Coming into the game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had just vanquished their foe in the wild card round, and were coming in on a nice 8-game winning streak after a big win to start off their playoffs. Now, Don was sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what was going to happen as he had the first round bye, which was crucial for him, especially to get the home field here in this matchup, as he's been playing tough at home all season long and has come into this game on a 15-game winning streak. As it is, the Buccaneers though have been playing really well and have been really uh, they really caught the league by storm from like the middle of the season on, and I really am impressed with how they performed this season, and they definitely are well deserving of this spot here in the divisional round after their big win last week in the wild card. So going in, very highly anticipated matchup here, but unfortunately the Buccaneers just really couldn't get anything going as the Giants' suffocating defense just came off to a great start, and they ended up getting the lead after the first half. Uh, a slight advantage going into the half for the Giants, but then as the second half progressed and it just everything wore down for the Buccaneers. It just seemed like they could not get anything going, and the Giants' defense just kept on making things tough on Brady, and the Giants walk out of MetLife with a 29-20 victory. Uh, this is the end of the road for the Buccaneers. They walked the plank here in the divisional round uh, to end a great season. A division championship in the NFC South. Nothing to be ashamed of there. But just it was too much on the road against the Giants for the Buccaneers to move on this week and play in the NFC Championship game. But as it is, Tag Rockets' run continues, and it will now be hosting the NFC Championship game against the next matchup winner, and that is coming up next here. But Don just played solid here in this matchup. Didn't have to do anything too spectacular. The defense took care of business and sent the Buccaneers on their way and out of the playoffs. But once again, a great season for Brandon, though, after taking over the Buccaneers in week 2. I think it was actually week 3 he took over. And from then on, it was just a, a very solid campaign. But Don's run continues, and he's looking to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's ever been in the Super Bowl in any of the 3 seasons so far. I believe he made it as far as the divisional round one year. So this is as far as the Giants have ever gotten, and they're going to find out who their opponent is going to be next. As we now move to the next matchup in the NFC, and I know I did not mention who the Buccaneers defeated in their initial wild card matchup. But just for posterity's sake, yeah, it was the Washington football team who went down, and they went down pretty hard. So kudos to the Buccaneers though to get past them to get to this matchup. As we now head to the next divisional playoff game here in the NFC. It is the visiting. Let's get over to them. We'll go this way a little bit quicker. It's the visiting San Francisco 49ers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. So this is Jason Crushtastic's 49ers coming off a big win in the wild card round after defeating the Detroit Lions in overtime, which was a big win for them to get them into this matchup against the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew McVicker, our friend from north of the border, after he had a big win against the LA Rams at home last week in the wild card round. So as it is, the 49ers and Vikings have a little bit of history in the playoffs, and usually it's gone the 49ers way in real life. But in this league, it's been the Vikings who have been really impressive, and they actually do have a Super Bowl berth under their belt in one of the seasons that we played. I don't think it was one of the actual 3 seasons that have followed the NFL, but they've been a perennial playoff team, and Andrew's been very solid in the league every year. As well as the 49ers, who are the NFC West Division champions, and Jason's been very solid as well. So this is going to be a high scoring matchup. I feel, and I was not let down by this one, as this one went back and forth as both teams came out on the board firing touchdowns here right off the bat, as the Niners and Vikings. It was very close heading into halftime. Both teams put on a little bit of an aerial show, as it was the Vikings with a slight edge at the break. But then heading into the second half, things got a little bit tighter. The score got a little closer, but it was the Vikings' home field advantage that really put them over the top here, as they were able to put a big number on the board in the fourth quarter and edged the 49ers 30 to 28. What a win for the Vikings to put 30 points on the board, which was the high for this round in the divisional playoffs, and it sees them move on to the NFC Championship game against Don Tagrockett's New York Giants. So the NFC Championship game is now set. It is the Giants and the Vikings from MetLife, and that's going to be a battle. Basically the two highest, probably 2 of the 3 highest scoring teams in the conference ended up making it to the championship game. I would say the football team was one of the other higher scoring teams, but they didn't quite get it. They couldn't make it this far after losing to the Buccaneers. But Don Tagrocket's going to have his hands full, I believe, with this Vikings team, as they are skull into the bowl, as they say. They're trying to skull to the bowl, and we'll see if the Vikings can do it, as the 49ers were no pushover in this matchup. Jason put it all on the field, and I thought they gave a great effort. It just was not to be, as the Vikings were. The purple was just too much, and the gold rush is over this year for the 49er faithful, and unfortunately, this is the end of the road in the playoffs for them. But again, a division championship, nothing to hang your head about, as the Vikings were just too good on this day and are now going to move on and play in New York or New Jersey against the Giants. And now, with that, we're going to head over to the AFC matchups in the divisional round. Let's find out. Let's find out here who we got coming up as we move to the AFC. It's the Los Angeles Chargers of Mike Rubino, and they're going to go and take on the Miami Dolphins of Cade. This is going to be a great matchup. Two teams that were very unlikely, I think, before the season started to get this far. This could be the better to be lucky than good bowl, as both these teams, I think, have played great this season. I mean, I'm not discounting their efforts at all, because in order to get this far, you got to have a little bit of luck, and your points that you score on the field, I mean, have to translate with your handicap. And both these teams have some handicap, as the Chargers get 2 and the Dolphins get 3, which that could end up changing after this season. But I'll get into that more next week when I do the handicap update, heading into March Madness, along with championship game, the championship game show, which will be coming up next week. So as it is, the Chargers come into this one coming off a big win in the wild card round. Uh, they had a nice win at home against the Patriots to move on to this matchup, which was a solid win there for them against a tough team, against Franz, who's no pushover at all. So the Chargers definitely earned their way here, and as well as the Dolphins, who had to really work in the wild card round against the Steelers, which they sent them packing, as the Dolphins were the number 2 seed coming in, and the Chargers were the number 3 seed. So as it is, it's the Dolphins hosting this one at Silver City Beach Club down in Miami. We'll see how this one shook out, as the flex tape for the Dolphins tank is sealed and ready to go, and we'll see if the Chargers, if the electricity, if they can bring the high voltage down there in Miami. But we'll find out, as both these teams have a penchant for putting points on the board, and we'll find out how this all ended up. As it started off with the Chargers coming off to a solid start and taking a slight lead into the half, as the Dolphins were maybe a little bit hungover from that big win last week. But uh, the Chargers, again, going into the fourth quarter, were looking pretty good. Things are heading in the right direction, and I think the Dolphins might have been a little bit caught off guard. But as it is, the Dolphins' home field is, I believe, what really gave them the huge edge in their fans in the fourth quarter, as it was the Miami Dolphins pulling this one out. Didn't quite cover the spread, but they did get the win, as they take this one 25-23 over the LA Chargers. So the 3 points of handicap, got the job done for the Dolphins. They played solid in the fourth quarter and were able to take advantage of a little bit of some of the mistakes on the road made by the Chargers, who just weren't able to put up a big enough number to move on to the AFC Championship. As it is, Cade, after starting off a little bit, after a stormy start to his season, literally, came in week 3 or 4 to take over the team, uh, as there was a caretaker owner who unfortunately just lost his game this week, Brandon. And Cade came in and just played lights out this season, uh, but the Chargers played lights out as well. And both teams have nothing to be ashamed of here, as they gave it all in this matchup. But it was the Dolphins who prevailed and will be swimming on to the AFC Championship game into a much colder climate in the AFC Championship, as they'll be taking on the winner of the Baltimore-Cincinnati matchup, which I will be going over here shortly. But heading into this game, the Chargers had won their last 2, and we're starting to really feel it here. And then they ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw in Miami, as the Dolphins have been just playing great Stableford, and they had won their last 3 games coming into this one as well. So as it is, I want to give a shout out to both teams here. Uh, great representatives. The Chargers, great division champ in the AFC West, and the Dolphins were the AFC East champion, of course. And they are representing them well, and they will be representing them in the AFC Championship game. And we'll see if the Dolphins can keep it going as they will be heading up north to face one of the following two teams here that I'll be showing shortly here. As we have Eddie and his Baltimore Ravens heading to Jason's Houday Cincinnati Bengals. So, cutting into this game, this was probably the marquee matchup of the week. As both of these teams fought hard for the AFC North Division Championship, and in that chase, it was the Bengals who came out on top, and they ended up the third ranked team in the league, whereas the Ravens ended up at number 2. So just going over some of the rankings at the end of the season that we had going into this divisional round. We going back to the Buccaneers, they were the 6th ranked team heading into this week, into this divisional round, and they lost to the number 1 ranked team in the New York Giants. So definitely was no shame there. And then you move on to the next NFC matchup. It was the Niners, who were 14th in the league at the end of the rankings and as their final ranking, and they lost to the number 4th ranked team of the Vikings. So as much of a disparity as there was in that 14 versus 4, those teams played a really darn good game, and you got to give them credit for that. This one is the closest match of all of them, as it's the number 3 versus the number 2. Actually, both matchups in the AFC were very close in the rankings, as the Chargers were the 8th ranked team taking on the 7th ranked team. So the rankings held serve there. Will they hold serve in this one? As in this matchup, according to the power rankings, the Ravens are ranked 2 and the Bengals are ranked 3. So we'll see. As so far, the rankings have held, but will it continue? We'll find out. As heading into this game, the Ravens had won their last 3, and they were coming off a nice win last week in the wild card round against the Houston Texans team that gave them all they could, but just wasn't enough, as the Ravens were just too good, and they moved on to the divisional round to take on the Bengals, the number 1 seed in the AFC, and rested off of their bye week here. As we move into the matchup now, we'll find out how this all went down, as it started off with the Bengals coming out on fire at home, as they've been doing all season long. And they took a nice lead into the half, and the Ravens were kind of scrambling a little bit to try to stay with them. But for the most part, they were, as after 3 quarters, this thing was relatively even. And going all the way to the end of the game here, it was both teams just piling on the points until the end of the matchup, when it was in a last-second field goal. It was the Cincinnati Bengals pulling it out, 29 to 28, by a 1-point margin. Now you knew that both these teams were going to leave it all out on the field, and it was going to be a close game, and sure enough, it was, as it was the Bengals getting the 1-point victory at home and moving on to take on the Miami Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. So kudos to the Bengals all year long. Have been a solid. They won the AFC North, and they now hold serve at home in the divisional round, and will now have a chance to get to the Super Bowl and take on another undoubtedly very tough team in the NFC representative, whoever that may be, whether it'll be the Vikings or the Giants. So I really think after this matchup, the Ravens really just they had it all in front of them, but at the same time, the Bengals are always going to be a tough matchup for them, as they had split the season series going in, and this was the rubber match, and it ended up going to the Bengals. It seemed like the home team probably had an advantage this time around, as the Bengals are very used to their stadium and are very good there. Whereas the Ravens just came up a little bit short, but still a great season nevertheless for Eddie, and looking forward to seeing him again in March Madness. So the seeds that move on to the Final Four next week for the championship game week are the New York Giants, the number one seed, the Cincinnati Bengals at the three seed, or the number three rank. The Vikings were ranked fourth. They're going to be there. They're going to be in next week. And then the lowest ranked team are the Miami Dolphins at number seven. So, wow. I mean, these are going to be some great matchups coming up next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these are going to go. Uh, the Dolphins have a little bit of handicap to play with, so we'll see if they use that to their advantage and somehow get their way back to the Super Bowl for the first time since in a long time in real life. But the Bengals, it would be a long time coming for them as well. So either way, in the AFC, we're going to have a representative that probably hasn't been to the Super Bowl in a long time. And as it is on the NFC side, you got the Vikings, who, yeah, it's been a long time coming for them as well. And then you have the New York Giants, who had a couple big Super Bowl wins in real life in the last decade. So as it is, a great divisional round, playoff week here. All four matchups, very highly competitive, except maybe one of them it got a little bit away from the Buccaneers, but for the most part, the rest of these matchups were 2 points or less. So I think we got the right four teams here in the finals for the conference championships, and I want to thank those teams for getting their games in so early and making it so easy for me to do this recap. So looking forward to next week. The divisional round, or the divisional round is in the book, and we're moving on now to the conference championships, and looking forward to seeing how those are going to go. But I'm gonna move on and switch gears now before we go for this week's show and sign off. I do have some more news and just some random thoughts going on about just the NFL season in general, and just how things are gonna go there, and just I also want to give some more tidbits about the March Madness tournament coming up for all the other teams who are looking forward to that. So if you're familiar with the March Madness tournament, it's a basketball tournament that's held in March, obviously, but it's a basketball. It's around college basketball, and it's held at many different venues. And to capture the spirit of this, I wanted to have our tournament take place at different venues as well. At first, I was gonna do a lot of different venues, but then I thought, you know what, I don't want to go that. I didn't want to go overboard and have 36 different courses or whatever the number would be. It was going to be a high number, and at the same time, I wanted to kind of stick with the theme of each city that's going to be hosting games in the March Madness tournament. So I did want to try to stick with themed courses that were, you know, like the backgrounds and like just the look and feel of the course would match the city that these games would be played in. So knowing that, I did go and I tried to go by the theme course. There's like 9 different course themes, and even though I didn't get all of them represented, I did not pick a desert course. I was going to, but then I decided not to, as there aren't any games in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Arizona or Nevada this year. So, but I will go over the 9 sites here where the games will be played. Uh, Actually, there's more than that. There's let's see here. There's 8 first and second round sites, and then there's 4 regional sites, and then there's the Final Four site. So there's 13 sites here that we're gonna have games at, and I do have the courses picked, and I will be announcing them now, along with the um, the theme that I chose, or the theme that they are representing. The theme really isn't as important because I did just want to go with the actual, like a course that looked like it could be from this area. And I know like it's tough sometimes with fictional courses, but I try to do the best I could. And just on a side note, if these courses do end up getting picked for the tours between now and March Madness time, like when we tip off or kick off in March, I do reserve the right to change the course and pick an alternate, which I do have a list of alternates here as well. But these are all tour worthy courses, and I'm going to start with our first venue, and it's one right in my backyard. It's Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's going to be games. There is the first and second round venue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin this year, and to represent that venue, that city, it'll be Safe Haven Shores Tour Edition. That will be the course, and it's a Highlands course, but it's patterned after a course near near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's actually closer to Kohler, Wisconsin, but Safe Haven Shores Tour Edition will be taking the Milwaukee, Wisconsin games. The next city will be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that will be held at Sorrowless Field Club or Sorrowless Field Club. You can say it either way, but that will be a rustic themed course, and that will be it's kind of patterned a little bit after. I know there's a real life course called Pittsburgh Field Club, but I did not want to use an RCR. I wanted to go with a fictional course, and so that's the one I picked for Pittsburgh. Next, we had the Buffalo, as there will be games up in Buffalo in the first and second round, and we will be going to Cold Spring Hunt Club, and that'll be a harvest theme. So the whole Cold Spring Hunt Club will be hosting games in the Buffalo bracket. The next city will be in Indianapolis, Indiana, for some games, and that's the home of the NCAA, which is the organization of college universities. Uh, Basically, it's the collegiate governing body of sports, and to celebrate that, the home of the NCAA, I thought, well, why not have another acronym represent that city? So we're going to CGGC, and that's a countryside course, and that will be in Indianapolis, Indiana, for that bracket for in the first and second round. Next, it's Fort Worth, Texas, hosting games, and we're going to go to Victoria Gardens there, as that's I believe that's a little bit of a um, I don't think that's a step theme so much as it might have like some step elements, but because I know there is a Victoria, Texas, I did want to kind of do that, and why not? You got to have some gardens in your tournament as well, and there's a lot of famous gardens in basketball, like Madison Square Garden, Market Square Arena, or not Market Square Arena. I was thinking Market Square Garden. It's like, no, that's not that wasn't the arena. It was the Madison Square Garden. But you also had the Rose Garden in Portland. And speaking of Portland, that's our next venue for March Madness. And that course, the course that will be representing Portland will be Coos Crossing, which is a Delta theme course. Then we head a little bit over. Then we head back to the other coast, to Greenville, South Carolina, and Low Country Yacht Club, which is a tropical theme course, and they'll be hosting games for the first and second round. And then the final venue in the first and second round, in that city will be San Diego, California, and we're gonna go to Santuario to compete there for that bracket. So Santuario, which has San in it for San Diego, plus it's got a little bit of a Spanish theme there, so that works pretty well. So the courses for the first and second round games, again, going down the list: Sorrowless Field Club, Safe Haven Shores, Cold Spring Hunt Club, CGGC, Victoria Gardens, Coos Crossing, Low Country Yacht Club, and Santuario. So if any of those courses were to get picked to go on tour anytime between now and the tournament, I would have an alternate picked. But now we head to the regionals, which would be the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 round, and those are held in 4 different sites. First, we have San Antonio, Texas, and the course that will be representing San Antonio will be Hill Country Clay, which is a step course. So that'll be nice. I know that I believe the designer is a Texan, so uh, probably not a bad choice there, as they pretty much know that area pretty well. As we now head to the next site, it'll be San Francisco, California, and I wanted to pick a bay type course, and well, we just found one. St. Lucia Bay Resort will be representing San Francisco Bay, the San Francisco Bay in California. As we now head to the next regional, Chicago, Illinois, and I wanted to pick a course that would capture the essence of Chicago a little bit, and we're gonna go with the Bricks and Ivy Club, which is a rustic course. It's a Chicago Cubs themed course, so basically it's like one of those, like the Dallas Mavericks I know have their own golf course, and this has kind of got the same type of theme going on there. So it's going to be a rustic feel in Illinois there. As we now go to the final regional, it's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and that's going to be Summerside Halt GC, which is a countryside course. I like the urban feel of it. It had like trains, and I think there's a train vibe there and a city vibe there, and I like that feel for Philadelphia, as it is a kind of gave me some Rocky vibes there. So now, as we now head to the final four, we'll find out which course we're going to use for that. As this is one that is a Delta theme, and it will be held in New Orleans. Is where the final four will be this year, and we're going to find out which course we're going to use. Well, the designer is a very well-known designer. He's been designer of the year at TGC Tours. He's actually been in, well, Ben. That's actually his first name. He's actually been in the league as a competitor in the past. I know in the first 2 seasons, and I know he's a very busy guy right now doing the Dream Team competition. The Final Four course is, I believe I'm saying this right, is either Sapelo River or Sapelo River, but I'm going to say Sapelo River, and that is the course. It's Sapelo River, and that is where we will be playing the finals of this tournament this year. The Final Four and the and the championship will be held at Sapelo River. So yeah, all those courses and those designers, I know they're out of all these designers. Uh, this is a great list of courses here. Tour worthy, all of them, and if you didn't get picked, you know what? I went through all these courses, and I know I left a few out that I was very close to pulling the trigger on. But these are courses that are not yet on tour and are all considered tour worthy. Now, if they do get on the list between now and next month, I will have to make a change, and I'll announce that on the show. But as it is, I don't envision myself having to make too many changes, hopefully. But yeah, that's going to be it for the March Madness news. I'm going to announce the handicap changes next week. I did get a couple inquiries about the forum signature badges. Uh, at least one inquiry about it. I'm working on those as well. Just keeping myself. I got some stuff going on with work and stuff, so just trying to keep myself, trying to give myself a little bit of room to breathe a little bit with some of that. But as it is, I really enjoy running this league, and I hope everybody has enjoyed the shows I've been doing regarding the league. And I know I've been getting some new subscribers from people I know, and they have no clue I actually was doing this the last 20 weeks, so I thought it was pretty hilarious. But hopefully they're enjoying the show as well, even though they have no idea what this league is about. But what they do know is football, and that's what kind of ties this whole thing together. And I know as a football fan myself and a Green Bay Packers fan, this week kind of sucked. As we know, we've been out since Saturday after losing to the 49ers in a very, it was basically like a thud. I mean, that game just really, there was no real energy there going on, as it just seemed like the weather and everything else, it just kind of took it out of them. But as far as the future of the Packers is concerned, I'm a shareholder, and as far as I'm always gonna love the Packers. I mean, it's my hometown team, and at the same time, it's like I'm always gonna love Rodgers as a player. He's got his controversial opinions and the things that he says, but at the end of the day, there's so many things going on right now in the world, and the fact that he's playing at such a high level at the age of 39, and he's able to put the performances out on the field that he's able to do. I mean, he's probably going to win back-to-back MVPs. So it's one of those things where I just let the guy retire when he wants to retire. If he wants to leave, let him leave. But at the same time, it's like I think he really likes playing in Green Bay, and I don't want him to leave personally. At first, I was a little bit like, bring on Jordan Love, but you know what? It's like we don't even know if Jordan Love's any good, and we haven't seen much of Jordan Love other than a couple games. And as it is, it's like I just think what Rodgers, he could play another 5 years yet if he wants to, and I just think that I'd like to see him go out on top for everything that he's done in this area. He owns part of the Bucks. I mean, he's done a lot for this community. He's done a lot for Wisconsin, especially after Favre leaving. I don't think anybody ever thought Favre was gonna ever come be matched when it came to his accomplishments. And I mean, Favre was just larger than life, whereas Rodgers, it's just he's been able to be that all that and then some. And I guess to me, it's like if another team does want him, good luck with that. He's still under contract this year, but I mean, to me, it's like why not just let him play as long as he wants? And, he's earned that right. He's 39 years old. There isn't going to be a rebuild in Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay is still going to find a way to bring in talent. They have too good of a defense. The division is for the Packers for the taking, as every other team in the division has its own problems. I mean, put it this way: the Packers have the only coach that's been on the team more than 1 year. I mean, the Lions have a new coach, and the other two teams have just fired their coaches. So it's like it's the Packers division year in and year out. I mean, Rodgers owns the Bears, and he owns this division. So at the end of the day, it's like why would you want to go anywhere else is beyond me. And yeah, I mean, kudos to the Broncos for hiring our offensive coordinator, but at the same time, it's like the real relationship is between Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, the real coach, the head honcho, the man with the best eyebrows in the league. And I just feel like I don't think Rodgers is going anywhere, and I think he's going to announce that on Pat McAfee's show probably in the next month. Will Devonte Adams be back? That's a little bit more iffy. I mean, I don't know if he's going to take the franchise tag and take that. Uh, I think he's going to either be signing somewhere else or uh, he might play with he might Rodgers might defer some money, and that could add to Adams's contract. So we'll see what happens. But I just you hate to see seasons end like that, especially for a team that was a number one seed. But if you're not a Packer fan, I'm not really talking to you right now. I'm talking to the fellow, if any other Packer fans in the house or anybody else that watches the NFL. Like, I guess this is just my take on the current events of the situation, and I guess I'm just hoping that the Packer fans I know understand that it's really easy to have a really snap reaction to a loss like that. But as a Packer fan, we're used to that. We're used to losing in clutch situations, and we're used to having some adversity. But that's what makes the winning so much sweeter. Like if we would have won it every year like the Patriots did, I don't think we'd even feel the same. Like I just think every 15 years is perfect. If the Packers win it every 15 years, I think the fans are happy. I mean, the last one we won was '96. Uh, then we won it in 2010. So that was about 14. That was about a 14-year gap right there. So you figure we're about due in like 2024 to win it now. So we're on our way. Like we're in 2022 right now. So you figure a 10 to 15 year gap will be perfect. I mean, it'd be great to do it sooner, but I think Rodgers is ready, and I think that's what's going to happen. So, and they're not going to go back to the 80s. The Packers are just too big now. If you go to Green Bay, you'll see the whole area has been built up. It's totally like a themed area now. It's not like how it used to be where it's just a bunch of village. It's just a bunch of. It's like a little village with a big stadium in it, but it's still like that. But now there's like a ski hill and there's resorts and hotels and like they built it up a little bit now. So it's now, it's more of a destination now, and Rodgers is like the best person to have now in terms of a free agent ambassador who will get players to come and play with him, because even if he's immunized or not, players are still going to want to catch balls from him, and he's still the best ambassador for the team and for Matt LaFleur's coaching style, as Rodgers had to adjust his game to Matt LaFleur's coaching as well. I mean, that was a process. It didn't happen overnight. So, but I just feel like with the some of the injuries the Packers had heading into that game, they could have easily have won that game by a lot more than you know they could have won that game by 2 touchdowns. But the 49ers came to play. You got to give them credit for that. So that's my real world take on the situation. I think the Packers are going to get healthier. They're going to get their guys back. There's going to probably be some new faces in new places, I'm sure. But I don't see Rodgers going anywhere. And, I could be completely wrong, but this is just how I'm seeing the situation, just from watching some of the interviews and some of the other goings on in the league right now. So I'm not taking that approach. I trust the Packers brass are going to make the right decisions for the franchise going forward. But if it's Jordan Love, then it's Jordan Love. But it's going to be a struggle for Jordan Love. I just don't see him coming out and being, you know, a 10 to 12 win quarterback for us. I got to see more. And Rodgers wasn't even a 10 to 12 win quarterback in his first year. So, but as it is, I think you give Rodgers the benefit of the doubt. He's earned his trust, and he's earned his paycheck the last 2 years and then some by being the MVP of the league. And I just feel like you just don't move on from that without a fight, and you do whatever you can to try to keep a good team around him. But as it is, it's like that 2010 season was a wild card team, and it all just came together at the right time, and the combustible elements made a big run to the Super Bowl, and that's what we did. So, but going forward, I want to thank you for listening to my thoughts on the NFL and the Packers from a Green Bay fan perspective. Uh, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will have more next week as we go over the championship games here in the NFL Stableford League, and also do the handicap update for March Madness. But again, this is Lefty79. I'm going to be signing off here now, and I want to thank you for listening and watching here on YouTube. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you down the road.